Yep, Val, would you like to call your budget committee to order?
That sounds like a good idea. I'd like to call the budget committee meeting to order. And I guess the first order of business would be to elect a chair for this year.
I nominate Val Scove.
I second it. Any other nominations? Oh, come on. All right, all those in favor? All those opposed?
You are it?
I guess I'm the sucker again this year.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask
Yes.
a question?
Yep.
Max,
Actually, the presentation.
Oh, it's already in that?
Max, are people who are viewing going to be able to hear people who are speaking in the room without the benefit of a microphone?
I'd have to put a mic in the center, so, well, actually, and they might be able to hear it, so we can continue the meeting, I'll get everything done.
Okay.
So you guys, if you want, I have a presentation. If you want to turn your chair so you can see the TV screen.
Maybe I will.
There's another seat over there you can take.
Get it?
Bad day.
There's one over there, I think. There it is.
Calvin, if you want, you can sit in my chair.
Well, you gonna get me out of it?
No, I can sit anywhere. It doesn't matter where I sit. And the people on Zoom can see that too, correct?
We must be close to 6 feet apart.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Sandy, you're welcome over here if you want.
I can see them here, thank you.
You can, okay?
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight to our budget committee meeting. It's so much fun and exciting to be here another year. It's hard to believe that a year ago we were gathered all together. A lot of things have changed in a year. I'm certainly not going to say that it's been an interesting year. You can go to the next screen. I do this every year. I go over it. I know you've heard it. You know what a budget is, but just in case for people who are viewing from home, the primary purpose of our budget is to provide an orderly system of financial control. It is the basis for limitations and controls on local government financial operations. Although the main focus of budgeting is always appropriations, there is a revenue aspect of the budget as well, and I will tell you that that revenue aspect is very important to us, especially this year and how we proceed. The difference between the total appropriations and the revenues represents the amount to be raised through taxation, and the adoption of the budget constitutes the legal authorization to levy taxes and to spend funds. And it should be noted that the taxes that are assessed and levied by the town also collects the taxes for the school boards, both local and regional, and all county taxes, as well as town taxes. Budget is a management and planning tool. The town is limited by the amount of resources available, and the budget aids officials in determining which objectives have the highest priority, will meet the greatest needs, and produce the greatest positive impact in the community. It's a shame everybody left. Because
I didn't.
well, I'm glad you didn't, because I think that sometimes people don't understand how much actually goes into this and what we actually do here. So, Max, can you change my next? What is the difference between a sustainable budget and a balanced budget? Well, let me tell you, we found out last year what was sustainable and what wasn't sustainable. A budget that is balanced isn't always representing a healthy spending plan. It's really easy to balance a budget. If you want to overestimate your revenues, you can have a balanced budget. But what we really have to do is look at what is healthy, and sometimes difficult choices are made. And I have to say, last year, the budget committee and the select board made some difficult choices. Deferring maintenance is always a big one in infrastructure. It's really easy but if we defer, maintenance, you know, it seems like it's an extra cost, we'll just defer it. I know we deferred some maintenance last year, it made none of us happy, and we are feeling it this cycle too, because you'll see in our capital improvement plan, if you remember, we pulled out paving last year and paving is back in this year. And again, let's use our reserves, sounds super easy, you know, we'll take more from our fund balance and throw it in there. It's all gonna balance, but if you use up your fund balance too much, you don't have anything for a rainy day, like when you have a worldwide pandemic. So, I think we did really well with that last year. Next one. He's my clicker. So how large is the proposed budget? $4.861,774. And where does that come from? This just gives you an overview. General government is $619,591. That essentially is the town office. Public safety is at $1.998 million and $394. Public works is $887,134. Community services, $164,408. Community development is $150,360. Debt service, we need to have a conversation about that. $216,404. Other financing, $731,876, and liability and property insurance, $66,974. It is up from last year, but it is down from prior years, because if you recall, we cut so much money out of last year's budget. Changes in expenditure, salaries and benefits. Salaries and wages increased $111,000 this year, roughly. Benefits only increased about $1,645. Again, in this budget, as presented, contractual employees under AFSCME, because it is a contract. Those increases for police and public works are included in the budget. Also, it should be noted, any budget line item for salaries that are not governed by contract are for planning purposes only, and although budgeted for, are subject to performance review and are at the discretion of the town manager. Budgeted amounts for non-contract employees are remaining flat. However, this budget does include an additional 4 hours per week for the employees in the town office. If you recall last year, we cut back 20%. So we're giving back 10% this year. There was no increase for health insurance for the first 6 months of 2022 budget, but we projected a 6% increase for the remaining 6 months of the year. And there were also status changes in coverage, and that's why you see the benefits not going up so much, because we did have changes from family back to single or husband and wife back to single. Changes in operating expenditures overall, they're up $438,684. Capital expenditures was the biggest increase, and that rose by just over $250,567. We put some paving back into the capital fund. We were able to pave some last year. As you know, we like to keep up 5 miles per year in the budget. We took that out last year because we had some funds sitting there we hadn't paved in a couple of years. We did, so we're down to only 2 miles. That $250,000 only represents roughly, well, it's not quite 250 because there's some other capital items in there, but that represents, of that 250, there's an additional 3 miles of paving in that 250,000. Debt service appears to have gone up, but I want to just clue you in on that, because when you look at the summary sheet, it looks like it went up, but it actually went down. It's just we took some of where that debt service was. Like if you'll recall, we did a street lighting lease for the LED street lights. We moved that into debt service when we refinanced all the debt, because you guys did such a great job of supporting the refinance, and the voters supported that in the November ballot. We were able to make some good dents in our debt service. So even though it looks like it went up about $24,000, it actually went down $70,000. Public Works increase, that's another big one, $51,000. That includes fully funding 2 positions. If you recall last year, there were 2 positions that were open. We didn't fully fund them for 12 months because somebody, 2 employees, John agreed to hire staggered. So we didn't have them in the budget for the full 12 months. And that also, that's okay, that also includes funding to, for a potential retirement in that department. And that's one of the things that we've really, Peg and I have worked hard at, is making sure that we know what's coming. So if somebody's planning or potentially planning, especially if they've been here for a significant amount of time, they are entitled to certain sick time benefits and vacation benefits. So we're trying to plan ahead for those eventualities and keep a good eye on that. General, I'm not talking fast enough, I'm sorry.
You sound like you're done every time.
General government rose 48,000. This is due to an increase, and this is basically town office. That rose 48,000, and that's due to the increase in hours, putting some hours back, and also IT needs related to online services. I don't know how many of you know. I think most of you do if you remember, but some watching may not. But last year, we learned some things from COVID. People do like the online services. They like to be able to register online or re-register their cars, votes, all those fun things. So in order to do that, we needed the software to be able to do that. So that's what you're seeing a lot in the IT costs, is a lot of those creature comforts that we now have that allow us to do things online. And they are good. They are being utilized by our residents. So that is a good thing, and it is a convenience for them. So that's in there. Also, when we upgraded the website, there were other IT issues that we upgraded to. Backing up to the cloud is one of those things, so that we're not taking backups, pulling them and out of the servers, putting them in. Somebody has to remember to take them home, and that's done so that, God forbid, something happens to the building, there's a hard backup. So all of those wonderful IT things are also included in there. Now you can change. The big thing that we may talk about tonight, if you guys feel you have the time, another big item of increase is the changes in expenditures to community services, and that's actually our recreation program. And this reflects restoration of the recreation programming, including full-time summer recreation. The increase puts Marcus Benner back into recreation full-time, and that, of course, is an item up for discussion. And I'm just going to take this moment to brag on Marcus for a little bit. Last year, and I know this budget committee and this select board agonized over a lot of the cuts that were made, and none of them were easy decisions. But Marcus, he's become the jack of all trades. He did some time in Public Works, filling in for the summer. He was invaluable helping John out, because if you remember, I just told you, we didn't put 2 of those positions in for that full year, and Marcus filled the shoes of 2 people. And he's also been our town clerk for the last year, doing a great job. And anything we have asked Marcus to do, he has risen to the occasion, fulfilled the shoes, and done an excellent job. And I just, want to give him a shout out, because there's not a lot of people who would say, do what you need to do with me, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And I think that speaks a lot to his character and his public service. Next. Transfer station costs rose almost 5.26% this year. I got a visit today from Bob, though, who said we might have to adjust that because of MRC tipping fees, so that might have to go up. One of the interesting things in the transfer station, though, part of that increase also provides for a third full-time person. So you might say, oh, why do you need a third full-time person? Because that part-time person up there, if one person goes out, I have to pull somebody from Public Works. And that Public Works rate is higher than the rate at the transfer station currently. So it might not seem like much, but if one of my transfer station employees is missing, you're pulling a full-time person from Public Works. And when we actually did the math about it, there was about a $5,000 difference. But we're saving more than that in what we would be paying, on the flip side, to have somebody fill in. So that's where some of that increase also came from. And just another thank you to the department heads. They got some guidance from me that said, try not to increase anything unless you absolutely positively have to. They went through their budgets with a fine-tooth comb. And I have to say, I so greatly appreciate Peg Kynan's help, our finance director, and Tanya Blodgett. I hope you all noticed you got your budget books delivered when they said they were going to be delivered for a third year in a row. So I know that's something that all of you wanted and we were able to accomplish. The other issue I would just like to say is we've got some serious discussions to be had. I've been sending you out, and I know a couple of you asked for a copy of some of the articles in the newspaper about revenue sharing. I called the state today and asked them about that. I did not get a phone call back yet.
That's surprising.
Well, and I think part of it is the revenues are doing better. The state revenues look better than they forecasted. And they told us that we're going to get a certain percentage, 3.75%. The question becomes 3.75% of what?
Yeah, of what?
Of what? So we don't know what that's going to look like. So Peg and I based our revenue projections and what we wanted to budget in revenue. It's extremely conservative. And you'll see, one of the funny things about COVID was, I guess when we met last March, we were thinking, well, we don't know what BMV is going to do. You know, they had shut down right away. People didn't have to register cars, and that registration, that re-registration was very sluggish. People really were hesitating re-registering their vehicles. However, what saved us was people went out and bought new vehicles left and right. I mean, we were amazed. I think that we weren't expecting that buy of new vehicles to come in. So we're holding our own on excise tax, which is good. It's really good. We're not, I'm going to say EMS revenue is a little sluggish. People just still aren't as willing to take that ambulance ride if they don't have to, just quite yet. So I imagine as the vaccine rolls out, more people get vaccinated, there might be that uptick again in people being willing to call the ambulance. And it got to the point where, I hope you saw some of the PSAs that were out on the TV about, don't be afraid to call if you need help. I mean, we had several instances of people deciding not to call to take the ride because they didn't want to go. They had, especially in the beginning, probably to the fall, a little bit reticent of taking that ambulance ride because they just didn't know what was going to happen. But I think we're over that, so we should see that revenue coming back up. But those are the big things that we have to be mindful of. You know, the expenditures we can look at, but the revenue is going to be tricky again, and what we think is going to happen. I did see, I don't know, I have not been home today to look at any news, or I haven't even had a chance to see if municipalities and states were put in any type of funding from the federal government.
No, not yet. It'll be on, they're saying tomorrow or Friday. They'll have the vote.
So hopefully the federal government, if they do decide to give municipalities, states and municipalities money, hopefully we would get some of that. And I am not saying that if we do get that, we should spend it. We should put that in our fund balance or our capital fund. So those are the questions, guys and girls. It's budget time. And that's where we're at.
Nice pictures.
Kyle Sanderson does those. He's always good about doing this.
The colonel got snuffed out? Where's your pictures?
I'm going to be really honest. I have been running around like a chicken with no head, and I just changed the numbers from last year's presentation, so I'm very sorry. Next year you'll get a much more perky one. But I wanted to also kind of go over with you guys how you want to roll this out, what departments you want to see, are there any you don't want to see. I can tell you I've gotten one request for an in-person meeting, LCTV, Larry Seidlinger. You remember Larry came last year? I know he would like to come, or he may do it virtually too, because we have these virtual things. You can turn that off now so we can see all our happy people. You know, it's going to be easy for people to come if we want to see them. So you just have to tell me what your pleasure is. I did ask Marcus to be here tonight in case you wanted to chat with him about his budget. You may not, you may want to wait a little bit. But I just thought I would have him ready to go in case you wanted to talk to him. And I just wanted to gauge what you'd like to, how we'd like to proceed from here. Any thoughts, ideas, preferences?
Bob?
I was just suggesting, since Marcus is here, we might as well take advantage of that. Then he wouldn't have to come back when we get to page 34 and talk about his budget. If you think it's appropriate.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Marcus, are you there?
Can I say something? Hi, Marcus. This is a budget summary, and it gives you a page of each general fund department, and so recreation in your budget books is on page 34. So I'll just hand these out if you want to.
Oh, and if you'll notice, for anything that's handed out, we put this handy dandy little folder in the back for you. So that you don't lose anything.
Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome.
I forgot you were there, Marcus. What's that? Did you hear all the good things I said about you?
I did.
Okay.
If I don't.
Yeah. Well, I'll think of something else too, whatever else you want to do.
So while we're getting ready, and waiting for Peg to hand out her papers and everything, I just want to tell you that we were able to, Marcus, not we, Marcus, he was able to do a few things this year, and maybe that would be a great way for you to start off and just share with the committee and the select board what programs in some way you were able to run this year.
Yep, so I was able to, starting in the fall when I got back in the office, we ran a modified youth soccer season. We planned for like 5 weeks, and we had a rain out, so it was only gonna be 4, like extended a week, but then we had like a COVID case in a classroom that some of my kids were in, so we ended up shutting that down the last week. Nothing ever came of it, but we kind of out of abundance of caution. And then I ran the full co-ed softball season in the fall. We had 13 teams, just like last year. It went really well. We crowned the champion, the whole works. That was great. I had a lot of positive feedback about that. This winter, I was able to get ski club back up and going. We've been averaging about 10 people using that every week, so that's a great program for the community. So those are the 3 that I've run so far, because this summer I was up at Public Works, nothing happened there. For the spring, I'm gonna help out with Little League. We had a meeting Sunday night. They're pushing forward with baseball and softball. We're gonna do that. And then I'm gonna try to run our pitch hit and run program. It's a baseball softball program where local athletes compete here. And then if the winners from our local tournament move on to the state tournament, and then the winners from the state tournament go to the regional tournament, which is held at Fenway Park every year. And then if they do well at Fenway, then they usually go to the All-Star game. But pitch hit and runs moved it back. The national competition is going to be during the World Series this year. They moved it back quite a bit, so it gives us more time to get it in. But we did have a girl a couple years ago go to Fenway, and I know she's not the first from our town to get there. So it's a really cool opportunity for the kids to not only compete here and test their skills, but to see what they can do against the whole country if they make it that far. So those are the kind of the 5 programs that I've been able to run, being part-time. I kind of came up with a list of my plans for the year if I'm restored to full-time, and it comes out to like 16, 17 programs for the year. So kind of see where, some of those ones I did run were some of my bigger programs, but I did have a lot that I wasn't able to do. Being part-time rec, town clerk, and then, part of being town clerk is being, there for customer service, being stuck at the desk, for people to come in to register cars. I can't get out and work on the fields. I can't get out and run pickleball, stuff like that has just kind of gone by the wayside for this year. So, I'd love to be able to get back out there this year, but it's up for you all to decide.
Well,
Marcus, can you hear me all right?
No.
No, okay. Maybe just as well. I'm wondering, with COVID still being an unknown for the summer, supposedly we'll be in better shape and able to do more stuff, but how much of an impact are you kind of thinking that might be on your plans for the summer as opposed to a normal year?
It will change it significantly. A lot of it'll come down to whether or not I get access to Miller Gym at the school. They're currently not letting any outside organizations use their school or any of the schools or facilities. I had a good conversation with the facilities director the other day. He was going to take it to the superintendent and seemed positive that we could work something out to get back in there this summer. If I can't get in Miller School, I have a couple other locations in mind. And if I can't get those, then I have a kind of an alternative programming idea that I could do. I might do it anyways throughout the summer that wouldn't require me to be inside. Our summer rec programs always run out of Miller Gym, but if I can't get in there, I'll have to come up with something else. But I have plans, for a full summer. It might affect the amount of kids I do get at summer camp. Pre-COVID, I planned to take my summer camp to a full day camp for the first time. It had always been part-time, 9 to 1, and our numbers had dwindled. Some of the other full day camps in the area were excelling. They had more people on their waiting list than I had in my camp. So my plan was to go full-time last year. It didn't happen. We got shut down. My plan was to go full-time this year. Most full-time camps around our size area limit around 50 kids. It makes busing easy because you can fit them all on a bus. With busing restrictions, I might have to lower that number from 50. I'm not sure exactly what that number would be. I put together a budget for my summer rec program. It didn't include any of my salary or benefits or time, but the program, even with, I think 28 kids was break even, and 30 was kind of self-sustaining with a little bit of revenue in there. And that, those were very conservative numbers with a lot of money in that budget for cleaning supplies, supplies for the kids, busing, and field trips, which I'm not sure will be possible. I hope we can get some in, but that's kind of the plan for summer. I was on a conference today with a lot of other directors around the state, and they're all in the same boat. They're looking at, maybe smaller numbers in their camps, but they're all going forward with camps. There wasn't anybody that said they weren't going to do it because of COVID. But they're all, and a lot of them are waiting to hear whether or not they can get into schools. About probably half of the people I talked to have already got access, and the other half are just waiting, like me. So that's kind of my plan for the summer. With, COVID's still a thing, but there's been, a lot of the rec departments didn't shut down. They had full years where they kind of learned and adapted to a new way of doing things, and kind of laid a lot of good groundwork that I could follow this year to stay open, run programs, keep kids and adults, seniors, keep them busy, give them things to do in a safe way. So I'm pretty positive I can stay busy all year. Getting in and out of schools might be an issue, but it's one that I can work around for sure.
Bob?
Marcus, how do you divide your time between clerking and the recreation side, and do you have help on the recreation side?
All my recreation help is volunteers, which they usually help run the programs, coach the programs. Sometimes we'll have a field day where we work on the ball field for Little League. That didn't happen this year, where we didn't really have Little League. There was a private baseball group that played, but I wasn't around to have a field day with them. So there's really no help outside of the volunteers I get to help me run certain programs, but it's not consistent. Did you ask how I split my time with that and clerk?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay. So yeah, I pretty much just stay clerk. When I'm at the office, if I'm not waiting on a customer and I have rec stuff to do, I'll do it. With the ski club, it's easy. I'm right there. I can call the Snowball, talk to them, and then the customers, the ski club customers are coming in to sign up, and I'm right there for them. That's worked out well. With soccer and co-ed softball, it took a little more finagling. I have to be at the office for the customer service with the town clerk, but then I got, Sunday softball games and I got to take care of the field some, or I got, Saturday soccer and I got to hand out jerseys. So there was, a little bit of comp time in there. I couldn't leave the office to go do stuff. So that was kind of a big hindrance, but it was just part of learning this year.
Nobody else got any questions?
This may be to Julie. And Marcus, you could chime in from a budget standpoint. And I understand, Julie, this is more of a discussion point, but what do you envision Marcus's role in this upcoming budget year in terms of being town clerk and doing all these other things or whatever, or is it kind of a...
Well, if you choose to fully fund him, then I hire another town clerk. I mean, that's, and you can, Marcus and I haven't really had the conversation, is he willing to stay another year doing half and half or something a little bit different, but the problem is with half and half, then I only have one person at the counter. And I'll just be honest with you, we lost, a person, and we lost, we still have 40 hours of work a week. We only have 32. We're working 32, and the people and we're down an employee. So I can't function in the office without, Marcus is essentially the clerk full-time right now. So we really do need two people at the counter.
Val, did you have a question?
Yeah, as far as the budget goes, most of the difference is Marcus's salary.
It is.
And so it's, I'm just doing a quick, like $15,000 difference, maybe not even that much, outside of his salary to run the rec program, right? Or maybe not even that, well, 2,000, 5,000, 500. So it's about $10,000 of
Well,
operating the rec program, different from
Yeah,
if he's
it's
full-time
about,
versus.
That's his
What was
salary.
So I'm just looking at the budget figures in the recreation department. Most of the difference would be your salary if you were full-time on the recreation versus if you were part-time in other aspects. So the actual recreation program to go with the full program only costs the town about $10,000
Well, not really.
Yeah, so in the past, all of my programs outside of summer rec have been self-sufficient.
Self-funded.
It has always been just my salary and benefits, and with the increase, I'm hoping with the increase from part-time to full-time to summer rec, that program will become self-sufficient as well, and it would just be mine. The only other things that are in the budget, the senior citizen bus trip, that's under transportation services at the bottom. We're putting that, I put that back in, the town, the budget funds a trip for them every year. We go, take them on a bus trip, go out to eat, bring them, it's a whole day thing, they love it. And then the land maintenance, which is, all of the fertilizer, grass seed, all the stuff that takes to keep the rec fields up to snuff. And the big increase in that this year was the backstop for the backstop renovation, as it, like I said, it was heaving out of the ground. It needs to be fixed. It's getting to a point where it's leaning on the building. So with or without a full-time rec department, I think that's still a major need.
So it's a $43,935 increase over last year, and that's basically what you're looking at adding to the budget.
So I'm assuming what you paid him for the town clerk will go to the recreation.
No,
Okay.
because that's where we're getting complicated is, right now, he's a full-time town clerk.
Correct.
He's not, he's getting paid the clerk's salary. So if he does a full-time rec program, he can't be full-time clerk.
Right, so
So
this
then-
would be his full salary, not 10,000 different.
Correct, the 40,
Okay,
right.
that's
It would
what
be
I-
his full salary. Right, and then I'd have to hire a town clerk.
How does the health insurance work? Is this a prorated? Or how is?
We adjusted it because his status changed for health insurance. So that's why it's lower.
So Marcus is still doing one day as recreation, right?
Well, not technically, I mean, it depends what he's running and how we accommodate his schedule.
He doesn't have to use a certain amount of hours per week, it could be seasonal or depending.
Okay, I was just trying to remember last year when we made that change.
Right, but we knew there was gonna be some times when he
Right.
wasn't gonna be operating,
Right.
so what the discussion last year was, try to front load, thinking that by the spring we'd be getting out of it, he could front load some of those out, he would save up some of those hours so that he'd be available when Little League started in the summer, or the spring. Spring, we do have spring in May, right?
In 2 weeks, right?
Rarely, on occasion we do.
Starting tomorrow.
Bob?
As a matter of fact, Julie, we go argument, full-time Marcus in the rec business, and you having to hire a town clerk.
What's my argument for it?
I mean, what's the financial
Well,
offset of
we,
that being
the town clerk salary was already in there,
in where?
in the budget last year.
Okay,
So we don't have to add that in, that's fully funded
so
already in
that's
the budget.
zeroed out, that's not a consideration.
Right, that's already in there.
Okay.
Bob?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're taking unfair advantage. I mean, Marcus has to work weekends if he's going to run a rec program, and he's doing pretty close to full-time as a clerk, as it is.
Well, if he can't do both, that's
No,
what I'm
I
trying to
couldn't,
say. I'm not expecting him to run a rec program and be the town clerk.
right.
I can't expect him to do that at all. So, what I'm saying is, if you're gonna do what we did last year, this year, I have to give him notice to tell him so he can make some decisions for himself too. Yeah, you can't run a full-time rec program and be the town clerk. That just doesn't work.
Bob?
So in the budget, I'm looking on page 9 of the town clerk budget, and your numbers are the same, presumably the same as Marcus's
They're the same.
or someone else's.
Correct.
Okay, so if he's town clerk, we also have 18,000 in the recreation budget.
Correct.
Is that?
Well, you got that savings because I was town clerk for a while and I didn't charge you anything for that, because I'm such a nice person.
Well, you are. So if he's doing full-time town clerk work, is this on top of the hours?
It's based on hours, and Peg charges it off. Are they rec hours or are they clerk hours? So you might see money left in the clerk line item because some of those hours were rec hours. It's not that he doesn't get the clerk salary and the rec salary regardless of the hours he works. So if he works 32 hours a week, 8 of them could potentially be rec hours. That's charged to his rec salary.
Okay.
On page 34. And if he works 24 hours as clerk, that's charged to the clerk salary on page 9. Right, Peg?
Right.
But then that's a 56-hour week.
Works at Public Works, he was charged for.
24 and 8, I thought was 32.
I'm sorry. I thought you said 36. My apologies.
Well, I meant 32 is what they could work if he works 8.
Got it.
So I'm still trying to figure out why the clerk budget is the same, whether he's doing it along with some recreation or we have a town clerk doing the town clerk job and he's.
Because he wasn't town clerk last year for a couple of months during the budget year, I was. So if I got run over by a bus, somebody was gonna have to do that job. I didn't get paid to be the town clerk for 3-4 months, 5 months, something like that.
But I'm looking at next year's budget here.
Right, because I had to prepare for next year's budget I don't know what Drew as the committee and the select board are gonna do, whether he's gonna be full-time or part-time. If he goes full-time rec, I still need a full-time clerk.
So you would have to hire someone.
That's right.
I'd have to hire somebody new to be town clerk.
Right, but if he is still clerk, if we go with the lower figure in the rec compensation budget, which is 18,000, that's on top of the same amount in town clerk, 39,000. So is that extra hours or?
Well, that number could be adjusted this year. But I don't know what you're going to do, so I left it both there. No matter what, a full-time clerk is paid a certain amount.
Right.
Now, if you're gonna say, okay, well, Marcus, you can only work, 8 hours a week and do what you did again last year, I'm still gonna need a clerk no matter what. I can't not have a town clerk.
Well, money's gonna be spent, either.
Either way,
on one
money has to
person
be
or you
spent,
Spread it over 3 or 4 or whatever.
correct.
So I'm sorry to be belaboring this, but if we're budgeting 18,000 in rec, if we go with him still doing the clerk's job, we have 18,000 in the rec program.
The clerk's budget could be adjusted.
Okay, but you haven't indicated that here.
Can I just say something really quick?
Sure.
I know what you're trying to say, Val. So in the 2022 initial and 2022 manager, in
Right.
in the recreation only, you see a big jump.
Mhm.
So the manager part kept it the same as it was
Last
in the
year.
current year that we're actually in. So I think what you're saying is in the initial, and still stay on the rec under initial, that's full-time rec. So under the initial in the town clerk, you would have liked to have seen a difference between initial and manager. I
Well,
think
not
that's
that
what
I'd
you're
like
saying.
to, I'm just wondering why there isn't a difference there.
Well, I think because, like Julie was saying, we do need a full-time clerk.
So
Right.
you would hire someone part-time to fill that out on top of his
No.
time?
You have to decide whether you
You-
want a
you
part-time rec or
have-
full-time rec, but we
Correct.
always will need a full-time clerk.
Okay,
Always will need a full-time clerk.
so he can't do full-time clerk and do any of the rec, is what it sounds like you're saying.
If you want him to do what he did last year, then we can probably adjust the town clerk's salary line item. But if he's going full-time rec, I can't,
Gotta have
a full-time clerk.
Right.
a
You
manager.
gotta have that number in there.
Gotta have that number in there.
Okay.
So are you trying to say if you had a full-time town clerk payroll with a full-time rec payroll, what's the $18,000, how are you gonna distribute that? Is that what you're asking?
No. I get it.
Because it seems that 18,000 is where you're stuck
Well,
on.
it is 18,000 here, and if we don't have a full-time rec director, there's still 18,000 in the rec budget. But
But sometimes that's used because, like I said, he might be working 32 hours, 8 of that hours might be charged to rec.
then the number in the town clerk line would be lower, right?
Well, technically it could, but we didn't really know what those numbers were gonna look like,
Okay.
so.
So it's not directly connected as a,
Right, you're gonna have money left over in one or the other line item from this year by the time this year completes. And it'll probably be in clerk, because some really nice lady didn't charge you any money to be your clerk.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob?
So it's not a commitment to spend the money.
Right.
It's an effort to reserve the money so that if they need to spend it, they can spend it. And there's a line item that covers it.
But we just have to make a decision at some point, not tonight, obviously, but as we get through the budget, so I can give Marcus direction so that he knows what his options are.
So if we decide to put Marcus full-time, you'll do the adjustments in here afterwards between the town clerk and him?
Well, no, if Marcus goes full-time recreation, the clerk stays the same.
Yeah, I understand that, but
But
the
if,
18,000 wouldn't be necessary, or the amount would be different because of the 18,000.
40,000.
it'd be 40, yeah, it'd
Right,
be
I understand
significantly
that.
higher, yes.
So should it really read 40,000 in the initial column and 0 in the second column?
Well, no, because you guys have to make a decision.
I'm just trying to get at what is the difference in funding?
43,935 between a fully funded recreation program and a very part-time recreation program that we had this past year.
Okay, and that's with no change in the clerk's budget.
That's with no change in the clerk's budget.
So that's the impact on the overall town budget.
That's the impact from last year to this year, yes.
Okay,
If you
I guess
restore-
that's what I'm looking for.
That's That's the magic number.
Which is basically the money we took out of it last year.
Correct.
Bob?
Has Marcus expressed a preference as to what he would like to do? Or?
Marcus would love to be a full-time rec director.
Okay, that's good to know.
That is what he went to school for. He has done an excellent job as a clerk, but I do not think that was his life's work. Right, Marcus? I didn't mean to speak for you.
That is correct.
Now, was he lucky that your clerk quit, so you had a place to put him?
I want to say he was. I want to think that he's much happier up here in the office with us, but he might have been happier in public works. I don't know.
I had that option. I came back to the office so I could do more rec stuff, and that's what I was able to do.
Okay.
And so, when I came back in the fall, that's when.
It just sounds like that we fund the clerk,
My whole decision
we
was
fund him,
based on that.
just like it's is on paper. And if it doesn't work out, Public Works. Want to be the boss?
Bob, sorry.
Marcus, it sounded from your comments about recreation that even though other programs seem to be going full-time in other places, your gut is that for the next, say, 9 months or so, in Waldoboro at least, it's difficult to judge the demand and the readiness of parents to go full bore on a rec program. Is that a fair summary, or is that a misrepresentation?
No, I don't think so at all. I think the parents and the kids are ready to get back out there and do stuff. My concern was with the guidelines we had in place, we might have to limit numbers on the summer rec program in the school because of space requirements.
Okay.
But other than that, all my other programs can run at full capacity. And talking to some of the other directors around the state today, some of their numbers are down in places, but they're running full-time programs, full-time departments. And honestly, in talking with a lot of them around the state throughout this year, I haven't heard of anybody else that was cut the way I was.
Cindy?
So do you still have the guidelines? I know with the school department, we have like basketball, but we're not allowing the parents in because of the numbers and the players. Are you having that issue? For the inside, do you have those regulations?
Not inside right now because the schools won't let me in.
Okay.
But yeah, if the school had let me in and I had to run a K2 soccer basketball program, we would have had to limit the numbers. If we had, I can't remember off the top of my head what the space allows at Miller Gym, but if I had 30 kids, then I couldn't have 60 parents in there as well, so I would have had to. But it didn't limit the kids.
See, unfortunately for the schools,
The summer program is the
parents
only
aren't
one,
allowed.
and that's more of a busing issue than a space at the gym. I think I can get the 50 kids in the gym. It's getting them on a bus, one per seat.
Yeah.
It was more difficult.
Because unfortunately, the schools that are doing programs, parents aren't allowed in because of the numbers. So they can't even see their kids play.
That's not a budget though.
Huh?
It's not a budget item.
No, I just made a comment that he was having the guidelines.
Bob?
Well, just speaking personally, I would love to restore the recreation program in Waldoboro if we're going to get the participation levels that justify having it. And I guess it's difficult for you to say, oh yeah, that's going to happen. We don't know, but if you don't build it, they won't come. So, yeah.
I guess my point is, we reduced the budget last year and due not knowing what the future was hold. So we don't know why we can't increase the budget, not knowing 100% what the future will hold either. And the kids have paid a price more than we probably will ever know. Being taken out of school, taken out of recreation, having the world turned upside down. And I think if anything in any department, The Recreation Department ought to be a priority.
Are we voting tonight?
Oh, no, why not? What's
So
gonna
Steve made
change?
the motion.
What's
I
gonna change
second it.
between tonight and Thursday?
The select board hasn't come up with a figure yet.
Yep. Is there anybody on the select board got any reservations about voting on this tonight? Bob?
I would like to kind of look at the overall budget before making a big decision like this that affects it significantly. So
Okay.
that's just my personal,
What if we, look at the budget, vote whatever, there's nothing to say that if we go down the road, we can't revisit it, right?
that's true.
Correct.
Done that before.
Yep.
Is that what you was gonna say, Bob?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's set a goal for ourselves and see if we have to move it back somewhere at some point.
I mean,
Okay.
I think it's fresh, the discussions, the feedback. Marcus is here.
Yeah.
He's expressed his desires. I think he deserves a vote.
Would you
I
like to
guess
do?
I'd move,
Yep.
I would move $81,464 for recreation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, we're good. Over to the budget committee.
Okay, the select board has approved $81,464 for recreation. Do we have any discussion?
So moved.
Second it.
Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
6.
Can't vote twice. Tried.
All those opposed?
6 to 0 to how many absent?
Yeah, do we have any, we don't have any budget committee members?
Yeah, Seth just left.
You don't have any online, no.
Okay, so we've got 6. Is that a quorum for the budget committee?
Yes,
Okay.
Seth just left.
So, no one here is
So-
opposed,
3 absent.
and, okay.
You guys vote on it?
Yep.
Board was fine.
Yes, we did.
Yes, Seth, John Heller, and Gordon Webster are absent.
Yep.
Seth was here but had to leave.
Was Katie online?
Yep, yeah, she voted.
She voted, great.
Yep, yep, she certainly did.
Great.
Merry Christmas, Marcus.
Marcus, you can go away now if you would like and get back to your family time.
Yeah, thank you. What was, I couldn't hear very well. What was the last vote? I'm just curious.
The budget committee approving your budget for the full
Yeah.
amount.
Six
I
of us.
didn't hear the numbers.
6, 4, and 3 are absent. 6 approved.
Still here.
Six
I had a
people,
hard time hearing the last one.
Hold on, Jewel was saying.
the budget committee voted 6-0 to approve it.
Okay, thank you.
He wasn't gonna say thank you to the ones that didn't vote for him.
Thank you to all, I just couldn't hear it. I can only see 3 of you. So.
Do you guys wanna keep going? Have you had enough for tonight?
Well, I really wasn't ready to go through a lot of it tonight. I just thought it was your.
It is, but I
But
just
I
wanted,
was, you know, I'm only, that was the big one.
that was the big one.
You got a hand over there from Ellen.
Yeah, Mal, yeah.
Not
Alvin.
being on the budget committee or the select board or anything, but we have 2 school board members here. And I would like to announce that the school board budget for Waldoboro's portion of it is down 2% from last year.
Awesome.
Now, the last time I was here, I told you to hang on, right?
Yes, you did.
Because I felt Julie was trying to get me to get my mind off this AD Gray thing.
No, I was actually asking you, for real.
Right, but what,
Two
but,
point three something or other, don't hold me to three, but it's under, it's less, 2 point something less.
yeah, it's 2 point something, but, 2% for round figures for the school budget, and, we're not done, we're working on this school budget every Monday.
Online. you can
It's
watch us.
online, most of them are online, I'm there live.
That's surprising.
So are you guys good to meet Thursday night, and we can start going through it line item by line item? We'll start with page 1 and work our way down. Is there anybody, I mean, like I look at, do you wanna see every department head? Do you not need to see every department head? I mean, some budgets are down. It's up to you guys, you just have to tell me what you want.
Just say the big, well,
So,
I think it would be helpful to have them there.
okay, not a problem, and I'll set up LCTV. So why don't we do on Thursday, I'll have, public safety, I'll have Derek Booker, our deputy, director of EMS, and, John Lash come in, and potentially Paul Smeltzer, so. Okay?
We start at 6 on Thursday.
We start at 6 on Thursday, and I'm sorry about tonight, it's just that the agenda got unwieldy, so I wanted to get the select board, I didn't want to get you too far past 6 o'clock, because that was our appointed hour, but, the agenda just keeps getting longer and longer and longer, so we won't have anything but you at 6 o'clock on Thursday night.
They're all gonna be at 6 o'clock.
I'm gonna do my best. I tried to keep March light, but everything just keeps circling around to me again and again and again. Okay.
well, that 9 to 5 job that you took on has turned into a 6 to 11 job.
Yeah, pretty much. It's okay. I love my
The
job.
budget committee's gotta adjourn first.
Come on, can you adjourn? Yeah, we adjourn, I have a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Greg,